students, welcome back to Section 1. We're going to move straight into the deposition where we have Ms Shireen Pollard, the manager of the Gender-Based Violence Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. New unit. Let's see if Ms Pollard is on the line.
Hi, Stephen. Hi, Kyle. Yes, I am.
Hi, how are
Shireen,
you?
how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
I'm great,
Fine, thank
so,
you.
thank you for coming on the program. Thank you for sharing your information with us. Maybe you could start with telling us about Generality Unit and what is some of the work that you do in the unit.
Sure, absolutely. So I am the civilian manager for the Gender-Based Violence Unit within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. This unit was launched in January of 2020 by Commissioner Griffith. It currently has approximately 80 police officers attached to the unit. It is headed by a superintendent of police. Her name is Superintendent Guy Allen. We are spread out within all 9 divisions of Trinidad and police divisions of Trinidad and Tobago. So there is a unit in Tobago, Chaguanas, Monrepo. They're all throughout Trinidad. I have a list of the police stations that we are in with their phone numbers, if you guys would like to have it at some point.
Yeah, perfect.
To distribute to your viewers.
And what are some of the things generally that the unit is in charge of? I mean, we know different divisions of the police deal with different things.
Absolutely. So the Gender-Based Violence Unit, currently we deal with domestic violence complaints and reports that deals with intimate partners.
Right.
So basically, husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever kind of relationship you are in. So we respond to those kind of matters. And it's very much similar to a lot of the other units within TTPS.
Yeah.
A report is made. It is assigned by an investigator. And an investigation happens, they decide if they have enough evidence collected to go ahead and proceed with the matter, and that means laying charges. So it is very much a police unit, similar to most.
Now, for us here and for our viewers to appreciate the real role of the unit, right? Let's start from the beginning, essentially. What in your view what is gender-based violence for our viewers that may not be quite aware of what it is? What is gender-based violence?
Sure, gender-based violence, it's a really long term and it encapsulates a lot, but the definition that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has adopted is, just one second because it's so long. So gender-based violence is a general term used to capture any type of violence that's rooted in gender inequality.
Right.
That could come out in a bunch of different ways. So it could be intimate partner violence, family violence, domestic violence, elder abuse, sexual violence, stalking, human trafficking. But really the crux of the definition is someone who experiences violence based on their gender. And when it comes to domestic violence, when you look at the statistics, a lot of domestic violence complaints are against women and girls. So it's definitely safe to say gender-based violence can be translated and can be seen in domestic violence.
And why do you think there was a need to form this unit? Is it that treating with this type of issue requires specialist skills, a specialist platform to deal with it?
Right, absolutely. So that's a very good question. When we look at other jurisdictions throughout the world, even regionally, most police departments have domestic violence units because it's just that. It's such a specialized kind of dynamic. When you look at the dynamic of domestic violence, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of trying to work with both parties. Sometimes you may have officers who are working with a party. So let's say a husband gets charged for physically assaulting his wife, right? He gets arrested, he gets charged, he goes through the entire criminal justice system. What we see happening is it doesn't mean that they're going to be divorced, right? They could possibly still be together and they could still come together.
Yeah.
So having these special skills as a police officer to deal with that kind of dynamic and understand it It's really, really important.
So therefore, I mean, you said that there were 80 police officers currently within this unit. So that,
Yes,
I mean,
approximately.
so lending from what you have just said, do these officers go through special training to form part of this unit?
Yeah, absolutely. There's training. They were trained by NYPD before the unit was formed, and there's just continuous training while the unit is going on because, that's the thing with training. It's not, you can't just do one training. Even if you train somebody with something like a year ago, you may want to train them again on it. And
It's
for
ongoing.
us, yeah, so for us, within the gender-based violence unit is understanding that the officers need to have special skills when it comes to de-escalating situations, having empathy when dealing with victims, or I mean, dealing with survivors, because it can be it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating at times. So it
Yeah,
does need special training.
exactly. I mean, as we're on the point of training, I mean, and Shireen, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. There is a perception, definitely, in society that sometimes the police have a sort of hands-off culture when it comes to dealing with domestic violence, reports of domestic violence. We've seen in certain cases where people have complained that, look, they've made reports, but the reports were not treated seriously. There's even the more extreme case where some people say or have alleged that police have said, well, look, you all saw that out, that's not a police issue. I mean, whether there's truth or not to that, there's certainly that perception. I mean, from your point of view, is it that there may have been that type of culture, but now it's changing, there's an evolution? What's happening there?
So Kyle, you're right. There was that culture, and I am not gonna say it's been completely eradicated, but there was and still is that culture. But if you look at it, it's not only within the police service of Trinidad and Tobago, it's Trinidad on a whole.
Yeah.
We as a society, we've always said, there are things that we say that's man and woman problem.
Yeah.
Don't get involved in that. Don't, we love to say don't get involved in married people problems.
Yeah.
And that of course has been translated as well. That's of course has been transferred to the police service at some point. But kind of sort of, not to defend the police service, but like we said earlier, we needed a specialized unit. And with officers who had the time and specific resources to deal with it.
Yeah.
So in the past, we may have had officers who were, in command of a division or a police station, and they simply just didn't have the time or the resources or the training to do it. But we are seeing a change. We are seeing a change within the police department, where there is an understanding that there is a gender-based violence unit, and if someone comes to a station, they can be referred to that unit.
So from a logistical point of view, if there was someone who were a survivor or victim of domestic violence and needs assistance, is it that they just go to the local police station and ask for the gender violence unit person, or the
should they
general
call?
report would be taken and would be referred? Would action
Well,
be taken quickly? What would happen in terms of logistics?
Right. So we have to look at first and foremost the role of the police department, right?
Right.
And we do want people who are in emergency situations to call 999. We don't ever want, if someone is unfortunately in an incident that requires police help, that they try and call a station or try to go to a station. If someone feels like their life is in danger, please call 999. The emergency response patrol unit would be the first responders, and then your matter would be referred to the gender-based violence unit. If it is something where it's not an emergency, and you kind of just want help, or you probably need information on what services are out there, what is it that you can do, then you can reach out to individual stations or to someone in the gender-based violence unit.
Right. And well, I suppose that the next most obvious question, Shireen, you've been in the unit for some time now. Do you think that, of course not to get too technical, but do you think that our laws, our systems are strong enough to protect survivors and victims of domestic violence and gender-based violence?
Right. Kyle, that's a good question. I would always say that we would need more resources.
Yeah.
Any country, any jurisdiction would need more resources,
Mm-hmm.
but because with the advent of the unit and of course the work that's being done by the Office of the Prime Minister in Child and Gender Affairs, the Coalition for Domestic Violence, these are some really big stakeholders within this domestic violence combative space. And it works. It definitely works. We have a very close relationship with the Office of the Prime Minister, with the coalition. If someone needs to go to a shelter that's run by the Office of the Prime Minister, officers from the Gender-Based Violence Unit will transport you there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we do have a system that we work very, very closely together, and survivors are really getting help, much more help than they would have been probably this time last year.
Yeah.
No, no. Well, specifically, Shireen, in relation to protection orders, when one
Yes.
goes to the magistrate's court, gets a protection order. Um, I know, for example, a first-time offender, a first-time person who offends a protection order, the sanction may not be as great as what may happen to a survivor of gender-based violence. What may happen to that? Let's just say it, a young woman who the sanction for a man doing what he has to do and breaching that protection order is different. Has the TTPS taken a more hands-on approach in relation to these protection orders?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead,
Yes.
Shireen.
One of the things when it comes to breach of protection orders, we have, so we deal with a lot of charges, right? So it's a lot
Yeah.
of charges. There's some very common charges that gets used within the gender-based violence, and that would be assault by beating, malicious wounding, breach of protection order, choking.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of crimes that we see that's related to domestic violence. So when it comes to breach of protection order, I believe what used to happen in the past is someone would be fined or
Correct.
charged for breach of protection order. What we're doing now within the gender-based violence unit is you are charged for breach of protection order and also for whatever crime you may have committed in breaking the terms of that breach of protection order. So let's say you went to your girlfriend's house where you weren't supposed to be, and you slapped her. So you'll get charged not only for the breach of protection order, but for physical assault. I don't know what it is on the book say, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of.
I
yeah.
understand. So you
Yeah.
get charged for the
And
substantive offense.
we're hoping that the public sees and potential perpetrators or offenders see that domestic violence is a crime, and that's what this unit wants to make sure the public understands that beating your wife is a crime, forcing someone to have sex with you is a crime, that's rape, even if that person may be your wife or your girlfriend.
Yeah, we need to get out of this traditional norms that we have in Trinidad and Tobago of gender-based norms. Then, our generation has started to break through that, but it's specifically some of the older generations that have that traditional norm there. And hopefully, your unit has already started breaking that mold and bringing some sort of information to the public.
But I mean, so Shireen, apart from, of course, I mean, we are all for the strict enforcement of laws and consequences to those who break laws. But I mean, a part of it also has to be the counseling, the therapy, the assistance to persons, maybe on both sides, both perpetrator and victims, because there is a chance for rehabilitation of offenders. Is it that your unit also deals with those sorts of things, or can assist in that, or is it that you're purely the enforcement arm, essentially, of this issue?
No. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service definitely realize how important preventive work is. Preventive work is just important in policing in so many aspects, not only domestic violence. When the unit was initially formed, we hope to, and we will pretty soon, with the approval of the commissioner, of course. The unit should be staffed with both civilians and police officers,
Right.
because we realize that having social work interventions and psychological interventions is very important. As much as a victim needs help, so does a perpetrator.
Yeah.
What we see happening is perpetrators, sometimes they don't even know what they're doing. If not that I'm making an excuse for any perpetrator, but they need to have someone speak to them about what they're doing and kind of have them self-actualize what's happening. So right now, what we do, because there are no civilian staff within the gender-based violence unit besides myself, we refer matters to our victim and witness support unit. And that is a civilian unit, and they deal with counseling. They would refer anyone to any kind of interventions that we need. One of the things that it was quite needed within Trinidad is batterers intervention.
What do you mean? What does that mean? Just for our viewers.
Sure, it's so batterers intervention would be any kind of psychosocial support for someone who has been charged with a domestic violence related crime. So what that intervention would aim at doing is kind of behavioral modification, trying to change the behaviors of that offender or that perpetrator. So batterers interventions and resources for batterers intervention is something that the gender-based violence has been advocating for, and we hope to have soon. But as it stands now, survivors can be referred to our victim and witness support unit within the TTPS as well.
I understand.
Before we close off, of course, we need to. I know we may have touched it on earlier, but if someone has a problem at home, or if someone has to make a report, how is the quickest way then to get in contact with the police? I know you said 999 for emergency support. Of course, that should be the first call if you're in emergency. But are there any other avenues in which they could access your unit?
Can access your unit directly, or is it that they have to go through the?
No, they can absolutely access it directly. Like I said before, we are in 9 different police stations throughout Trinidad. So I can give you guys a list of the police stations and the phone numbers.
Sure.
We'll put it up on our website.
Do you want it now, or do you want me to email it so you can put it up?
You can feel free to call out the stations, and then we will.
Okay, sure. So we are the Gender-Based Violence Secretariat. This is where the superintendent, the head of the unit, the superintendent of police, this is where her office is, and her office is in St. Clair Police Station. We are also located in Maloney Police Station, and that phone number is, hold on one second, 646-6504. We are also in Besson Street Police Station. That is 623-1395. We are in Standing Granny Police Station. That is 668-2505. Marval Police Station, 629-2009. Chaguanas Police Station. Don't have their phone number, I'm sorry. Monterey-Bo Police Station, which is 657-9769. And we are also in Lamprey and Point Fortin, and that is 648-7448. And lastly, Scarborough Police Station in Tobago, and that number is 639-18112.
That's it. Thank you very much, Shireen, for coming on and sharing that information.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you for the discussion. We hope to have you on soon, because both Stefan and I have committed that this is an issue we don't only want to discuss when incidents happen, but we certainly want to keep the discussion going, and we hope we can have you on sometime in the future.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And I just want to say for, your viewers and stuff that, the unit is working very hard. We've affected about 230 arrests and about 250 charges since the unit has been formed. So the criminalization of domestic violence is definitely something that we take very, very importantly, and we want the public to understand that there is something that could be done if someone does hurt you, if someone does commit a crime against you, even if it's in the context of domestic violence.
Yeah,
okay.
Perfect.
Thank
you, Shireen.
Take care.
Bye.
Right, thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, I mean, Ms. Pollard, again, a brilliant young lady there.
Well, it's very heartening to see that the police are incorporating civilian assistance.
And that is the point.
And developing specialized units, because I think very clearly dealing with domestic violence, even with gender-based violence, officers have to be properly trained. I remember when I was studying in England, one of the new things the police had there was that all police had to come with body cameras as long as there were reports of domestic violence.
Yeah.
And that they had a policy that if they interacted or saw domestic violence, they had to effect an arrest.
Yeah.
It was part of the rules, part of the laws up there, part
and
of the practice codes.
Yeah, and it's good to see that, as Shireen said, the police have undergone specific training.
Yeah.
There are avenues for both survivors and the perpetrators of these crimes.
Well, the balance is important.
The balance is, well, with less perpetrators, you have
Yeah.
less crimes, of
Correct.
course,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that is where, I mean, again, as Shireen said, if it's an emergency situation, your first port of call should always be the 999 number. The patrol unit will immediately come and try to assess the situation, de-escalate the situation, and then the numbers that Ms. Pollard would have called out, we will get the
put
list
up on
and
our
we'll put it up
website,
on
and
our
I'm sure we
website.
could put it up on Jagrity's website.
Yeah, and we'll
as
put
well.
it up on Jagrity's website so that if you or a family member being is a
A loved
survivor,
one or someone you know, I think
Yeah.
it's important that everybody, that this issue be properly dealt with.
Yeah.
It's a societal problem. It's
Correct.
everybody's problem.
you take it upon yourself to make these reports.
Yeah.
You take it upon yourself to go to Groots TT or go to any of these NGOs, seek help, because you don't want to wait until it's too late.
Yeah.
And that is important.
And also, I think we also need to ensure, especially in the case of Groot City, to
Yeah.
offer assistance.
Yes, correct.
Volunteer, time, money. Money isn't the only way that you can assist.
Correct, correct.
So let's see what happens, and hopefully we can all contribute more to solving
Yeah,
this problem.
and as Kyle would have mentioned to Shireen, we intend to bring this topic up as much as possible.
Yeah.
We don't want to just wait until there is a act of violence to any gender, really. I mean, that's what gender-based violence is. And we want to ensure that we continue this discussion so that people are aware, that you, the viewing public, are aware. Let's take a very short break, and we're going to get back to the soapbox.